let's close with this. Given what they did tonight, drafting Toppin and quickly, of these two things that I'm about to tell you, which of the two things are you more curious about which way they're going to go between now and the start of the season? What they do at the point guard position, or whether or not they are able to successfully move on from Julius Randle?
I don't really care so much about whether they can move on for Randall, because if they keep Randall because they don't have an adequate trade offer for him, like I don't want to give things up to move up for him under any circumstances.
Oh, I
And if
agree
that
with
means
that. Please don't give up an asset to move Julius Randle.
right,
Tell him to go away.
so if you have to so if you have to bring Toppin or Julius off the bench, like whoop de doo, like they're still gonna play Toppin. Even if Toppin comes off the bench, he's still gonna play 25 minutes a game, 30 minutes a game. So I'm not. It'd be annoying, but like I'm not really curious about that. I'm much more curious about the point guard situation, and I'm curious what you think, sir. Given that uh, there's only one other team with the money to sign Fred VanVleet, and that's his incumbent team, and they just drafted a replacement Fred VanVleet in Malachi Flynn. Do you think that's more an insurance pick, or do you think that is uh, you know, I guess, yeah, what do you think? Do you think that's an insurance pick and they just want a good player, which Flynn very much is, and now they have a three-guard rotation that is very solid? Or do you think it's a bit of a both things? It's both an insurance pick and a depth pick.
So, a couple things. As far as I know, and my phone just died because I was looking at it all night, and I should have had it on the charger. I have my laptop in front of me, but I don't feel like looking up the situation with Detroit having traded for Trevor Ariza earlier tonight in terms of how much his contract is going to count against the cap. My understanding is that is still in flux. If there is some resolution to that, because basically what I'm referring to is Detroit is either going to be $15 million in change under the cap, or they're going to be 22 or 23 and change under the cap. I believe those are the two options. Detroit was the other team that, like, because here's the thing with VanVleet, right? You need, if you're Toronto, or rather, let me rephrase that. If you're VanVleet, you need to be able to put the like fear of God in your team, right? That you could say like, hey, look over there. There's a big bag. And I bet I know what's in the bag. There's things in the bag. They're green. They're green things in the bag. He he needs to be able to say that. So let's and I will also say very briefly, Detroit, their moves tonight seem to be and by the way, the second round, the Detroit second rounder the Knicks got, that was not from Detroit, that was from LA. That had been previously traded, so it's not like Detroit traded that away. Detroit's move tonight seemed to be forward thinking. So perhaps all the noise that we've been hearing about the Pistons being the team holding the bag for VanVleet, maybe that has been overstated. If that is the case, I think I'm not going to pretend to have any clue whatsoever as to what Toronto was thinking as far as Malachi Flynn and how much he can or can't replace VanVleet. I also think it's interesting that, the East now is like, if Giannis is staying in Milwaukee, right? And Miami has whatever their designs are, and like Brooklyn is maybe getting James Harden. Like, how does that influence what Toronto wants to do? Like, does that make them more likely to invest in VanVleet to be competitive? Does that make them less likely to invest in VanVleet? Like there's all these variables out there. The thing that I keep coming back to is something that has been reported not by me but by others, which is that does Leon Rose want VanVleet to be like his signature first big move?
Right.
And I'm wondering, like, now that they have Toppin, does Leon Rose worry less about that because he could look and be like, hey, I just drafted the guy who's probably going to be rookie of the year. And we could talk all we want about Toppin's game. I think both of us would feel comfortable sitting here and being like, look, if you gave us 2-1 odds on Toppin, we would, I mean, I'd put a few bucks on it. I'm sure you would too. Like, he's going to look good. So does he maybe not worry about the impression that a VanVleet signing gives off? I don't know. I don't know what the number is. Can they now get him for 18 a year? Whereas previously people thought maybe it was going to be a number starting at 22 or 23 or even more. Like, these are all really interesting questions that I have. If you're asking me my gut feeling, and again, this is not reporting. This is my gut feeling just based on like, whatever, me living and breathing with this fucking team 24/7. I don't think it's likely that VanVleet's a Knick, but again, who knows what Leon Rose is thinking? Like, I still think Russell Westbrook is like, let me put it this way. This is the last thing I'll say. If you're telling me that there's two doors that Leon Rose can walk through, one where they could get Fred VanVleet for 4 years and $84 million, and another one where they could give up Julius Randle, Dennis Smith Jr., and the 2023 Dallas pick for Russell Westbrook. If you're asking me which of those two doors do I think Leon Rose is going to walk through, my gut feeling is that he would take Russ. That's my gut feeling. I could be wrong. That's my gut feeling.